Hohenstein-Stadel Cave, Germany, approximately 40,000 years ago. In a narrow, damp, and completely sunless chamber, a human was carving a block of mammoth ivory. The result? A statue of a lion-headed human figure, a creature that never existed in nature. At other sites, from Chauvet Cave in France to Sulawesi in Indonesia, strange animal images, negative handprints, and abstract patterns appear on stone walls. These images share one trait: they do not depict reality. They represent something else, more abstract, more symbolic. Why would Homo sapiens invest time and survival risk to create images that serve no direct function in hunting, shelter, or reproduction? The answer lies not in craftsmanship, but in cognition. Over 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had developed the ability to conceive of what was not visibly present. They did not just see, they imagined. They did not merely react, they formed. This marked a turning point in cognitive evolution. When humans began expressing ideas through images, they opened a new dimension of thought, where imagination became transmittable structure. The creation of unreal figures, lion-headed humans, distorted hands, spiral motifs, is evidence of the shift from reactive intelligence to symbolic intelligence. It meant that Homo sapiens were not only surviving, but building an organized internal world. From both archaeological and neurological perspectives, this process correlates with the development of the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for imagination, prediction, and empathy. These cave images were not simple decorations. They are evidence of abstract thinking, something not clearly observed in Homo erectus or even Neanderthals. By inscribing symbols onto stone, early humans did more than interact with their physical surroundings. They initiated a connection between the material world and the realm of ideas. This was the beginning of meaning. When an image became more than visual, it became conceptual. A handprint with elongated fingers, claw-like, is no longer just a hand. It is a symbol, evoking transformation, duality between human and animal, between reality and dream, between matter and idea. The presence of unreal forms in prehistoric cave art confirms a critical shift. Homo sapiens had crossed a cognitive threshold. They no longer lived solely in sensory reality. They began shaping the world through their minds and preserving it in stone. From that moment onward, images, symbols, and mental constructs became essential elements of human nature, and the journey to create the shape between worlds had officially begun. Part 2. The shape of the unshaped. Over 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens began expressing concepts that could not be directly observed, not through spoken language, but through visual forms. This represents a cognitive distinction not evident in other human species like Homo erectus or Neanderthals. At sites like Chauvet, France, El Castillo, Spain, and Sulawesi, Indonesia, archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of abstract symbols, not of animals or humans, but of dots, spirals, zigzags, wave lines, and negative handprints. These signs do not depict the natural world. They do not serve practical hunting or navigational purposes. They were created to signify non-material concepts: death, time, transformation, ancestry, or beliefs about the afterlife. For example, the repeated dot patterns at El Castillo, dating back over 65,000 years, are among the oldest known symbolic marks. The widespread negative handprints from Europe to Southeast Asia suggest that early humans turned their own bodies into symbols rather than mere biological entities. Assigning shape to the unseen was a major milestone in cognitive development. When our ancestors drew spirals, they may have been referencing cycles of time, life, or motion. A half-human, half-animal figure wasn't a zoological observation. It was a conceptual expression of belief, fear, or imagined entities. These were not isolated gestures. many of the symbols recur in structured sequences, indicating transmission, memory, and intergenerational learning. The remaining evidence does not reflect random creativity. It reflects a proto-system for encoding collective knowledge and emotion. Archaeologists refer to this as the symbolic explosion, often associated with the emergence of abstract thought and transcendental reasoning, the foundations of language, religion, and science. Neurologically, symbolic behavior is linked to the advanced development of the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system, regions governing emotion, imagination, and decision-making. Their integration enables not just memory, but layered understanding, building representational systems to think indirectly. By imagining the unseen and assigning it a visible form, Homo sapiens built a bridge between two realities, material and conceptual. That bridge is the foundation of modern cognition. Complex ideas, from mathematics and morality to legal systems, are all made possible by symbol-based representation. And it all began with dots, spirals, and handprints on stone. From that point on, symbols were no longer just byproducts of imagination. They became primary tools for transmitting knowledge, expressing emotion, and shaping the inner world. Without symbols, there would be no language. Without language, no structured thought, no traditions, no history. Homo sapiens' capacity to assign form to the formless is what enabled them to construct large-scale culture. And from that moment, shape was no longer just geometry. It became the grammar of consciousness. Part 3. Symbols, the universal language of the mind. Unlike spoken language, limited by geography, era, and culture, symbols transcend time and space. Identical motifs and symbols appear independently across vast distances, with no known cultural connection. For instance, the wave patterns at Altamira Cave, Spain, closely resemble rock art motifs found in Kimberley, Western Australia, despite being created thousands of years apart. Similarly, spirals, chevrons, negative handprints, and figures with exaggerated heads have been documented from Europe and Africa to Southeast Asia and the Americas. Why this repetition? One theory from neuroscience and anthropology suggests that the Homo sapiens brain is hardwired to encode emotions and memories through structured abstract imagery. Shapes like spirals and wave lines may be neurological artifacts, visual models for movement, transformation, or temporal flow. Thus, symbols were not merely cultural inventions. They were collective expressions of how the human brain processes its inner world and externalizes it through visual form. Symbols function as a non-verbal communication system. They require no sound, no syntax, yet convey emotional and conceptual content with precision, especially in pre-literate contexts. In cave art, a sleeping animal might signify death or transcendence. A split human figure might represent dreams, spiritual rituals, or ego transformation. These require no verbal explanation. They tap into intuitive cognitive systems that trigger instinctive understanding. Symbolic anthropology suggests that humanity's ability to share core symbolic systems underlies the development of ritual, belief, and social cohesion. Symbols are not only communicative tools, they are foundational to collective cooperation, allowing people to co-imagine the unseen, co-believe, and co-act based on shared meaning. Therefore, symbols may be humanity's first language, and possibly its only universal one. Religion predates writing. Myth predates textbooks. Knowledge was first transmitted through etched stone, painted bone, tattooed skin, and shaped clay. The importance of symbols extends far beyond art. It marks a shift in social consciousness, the capacity to share a concept that isn't real, but powerful enough to govern real behavior. This is the foundation of religion, law, money, and all abstract constructs in modern society. From an evolutionary perspective, symbolic behavior coincides with the period when Homo sapiens began to outcompete other hominins. The ability to create and interpret symbols requires imagination, empathy, and conceptual mapping. Advanced cognitive functions, not consistently observed in Homo erectus or Neanderthals. This suggests that symbolic thought not only allowed humans to understand the world, it enabled them to restructure it around collective mental models. And that is why symbols still persist. In architecture, logos, religion, art, and digital information systems. No translation needed, no explanation necessary. Symbols still function, and they have never stopped since the day they were first etched into stone. Part 4. Mirrors of Consciousness. In 1939, in Hohenstein-Städel Cave in Germany, archaeologists discovered a small statue carved from mammoth ivory, standing about 31 centimeters tall. The figure has a human body and a lion's head. It was named the Lion Man and dates to over 40,000 years ago. Scientific questions followed immediately. What creature does this represent? Was it ever seen in nature? Or is it a product of imagination? Most crucially, why did early humans create a hybrid being that blends man and beast? There is no evidence that prehistoric humans ever encountered such a creature. Therefore, the Lion Man is not a literal record of nature, but a product of symbolic abstraction. Combining animal traits with the human form suggests a cognitive capability, the ability to identify the self with a non-literal, metaphysical image. From an anthropological standpoint, this reflects an early form of extended self. The notion that humans perceive themselves not only as physical beings, but as part of a larger symbolic and spiritual order. The representation of a hybrid, non-natural figure indicates an emerging awareness of a self that transcends biology. Neuroscience supports this view. The ability to imagine the self in altered states, becoming an animal, flying, dying, being reborn, relies on the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. These brain regions govern imagination, empathy, and identity construction within social and symbolic environments. Therefore, the Lion Man is not merely art or decoration. It is a mirror of early human consciousness, a way to express awareness of the self beyond the physical form. It represents a precursor to the concepts of soul, ancestor, transformation, and spiritual duality found in later cultures. Archaeological evidence reveals similar hybrid beings across continents. Bird-human statues in Siberia, deer humans in North America, mermaid figures in Southeast Asia. This pattern indicates a global symbolic language. Humans across different regions developed similar reflective thought through symbolic creatures. From this foundation, rituals emerged. Funerary practices, the structured handling of death, began with the belief that the deceased did not vanish but transitioned to another state. Grave goods, body markings, and ritual masks are all tied to symbolically managing the in-between state. According to many anthropological theories, dreams also played a crucial role in generating symbols. Dreams offer uncontrolled imagery charged with emotion and identity. Externalizing dream images through objects was a way to materialize inner consciousness. From early pieces like the Lion Man, humans moved from personal memory to communal marking. These symbols did not simply reflect an individual's inner life. They became tools to connect memory, belief, and identity across the group. We have no written records from that period, but what remains, carvings, engravings, sculptures, are original texts, mirrors of the earliest human mind. Homo sapiens did not merely know they existed. They tried to represent that fact. And they did so by shaping themselves and their imagined selves into form. Part 5. Living shapes. Symbols did not vanish with the Stone Age. They simply changed form. Today, humans continue to use symbols to communicate, remember, assert identity, and structure society. From digital emojis, tattoos, and brand logos, to traffic signs, religious icons, and political emblems, symbolic systems still shape modern life. Neuroscientific studies confirm that the regions of the brain involved in symbolic processing, especially those linked to imagination, emotion, and behavioral prediction, are evolutionarily ancient. the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system play central roles in encoding, interpreting, and assigning value to visual symbols and abstract concepts. When a person sees a symbol, such as a heart or a skull, the brain response goes beyond recognizing the image. It activates neural networks tied to emotions, memories, and social behavior. This shows that symbols are not just visual objects. They are cognitive triggers for entire clusters of meaning. Fundamentally, this process mirrors how early humans responded to cave imagery. A spiral might once have evoked life cycles or cosmic motion. Today, a digital icon can evoke a psychological state, a communication cue, or a personal signal. From an evolutionary perspective, this reflects the continuity of symbolic thought. The human nervous system does not discard old functions when new technologies arise. Instead, it adapts, integrating symbols into all modes of communication, from written language to digitized signals. Symbols were humanity's first cognitive technology, and they remain foundational to modern knowledge systems. Maps, mathematical formulas, engineering diagrams, legal frameworks, computer code, all depend on the ability to assign meaning to abstract form and structure. Culturally, anthropologists argue that symbols are core to every traditional system, from religious ritual to contemporary art. They preserve collective memory, define group identity, and transmit meaning across generations without words. A tattoo of an animal, a totem on a wall, a sign at a funeral. These are all ways humans anchor themselves to concepts that transcend biology: community, ancestry, spirit, and continuity. Though the tools have changed from stone, bone, and clay to electronics, data, and digital imagery, the behavior is the same. Humans give shape to ideas, and in doing so, they build a world of meaning that can be shared and remembered. Thus, the shape between worlds is not a relic of the past. It is a mechanism active in every cognitive act today, from symbolic language to industrial design, from artistic vision to digital architecture. Modern humans do not live outside of symbols. They live within them, and they continue to dream, imagine, and redefine the world through them, just as their ancestors did tens of thousands of years ago. The ability to shape the invisible and to share that shape with others remains one of the defining traits of Homo sapiens.